Knowing structure of EM spectrum, similarly, the uses and properties of each and every region in EM spectrum, today on 23rd of March, we talk about to understand the ways we are using EM waves. So EM waves have wide applications in our daily life. They are used in each and every field like industry, for domestic purposes, for communication, etc. The major use of EM waves is in communication. Communication is common human activity. With advance of technology, we communicate with each other using different systems. So today we'll proceed further what is communication system, and we study the use of EM waves of very low frequency, the frequencies below visible light, used for communication purposes. So our aim is to study communication. So I have started the article 13 point article 13.5, Introduction to Communication System, on page 238. So students, open the textbook, get page number 238. Today we'll start with communication. So as I have told you, communication is basic activity of human. In advance of technology, numerous communication systems have been developed. At present, we are using three types of communication systems. Communication system is a setup in which the information in suitable form from one place to another place is sent. So this is the setup for transformation or transmission of information. Communication system at present has three types. One is electrical, other is electronic, and third is optical. Irrespective which type of communication system we are using, in each and every communication system, we get three basic elements. So each communication system has three basic elements. One is a transmitter, the other is communication channel, and the third is receiver. Transmitter is kept at one end of the system. Receiver is kept at the last end, other end of the system. So transmitter, communication channel, and receiver are the basic elements of communication system. I have already told this communication system has three types. Most commonly used communication system is electronic one. But whether it is electrical, electronic, or optical, these three basic things are required. The setup of communication system has these three basic elements. So what is a transmitter? What is its main function? Transmitter, what it does? it transmit information after modifying it in suitable form. Then this information transmitted by transmitter passes through this communication channel, and the receiver, which is kept at the other end of communication system, receives that information. It decodes it in suitable language to be understood. So this is a receiver. So these are three. We today will discuss about electronic communication system because it is nowadays is of wide use. So we'll proceed further for electronic communication system, which is article 13.5.2. Go through the book simultaneously. So I have started with 13.5. Then we studied basic elements 13.5.1. We have proceeded further for 13.5.2. So different terms are used in this communication system. You are familiar with three. That is transmitter, communication channel, and third is receiver. So transmitter transmits the information by modifying it into suitable form. So the information modified into suitable form for transmission is called signal. Many times it is also labeled as message signal. So information to be transmitted is not transmitted in its original form, but it has to be modified and it has to be made suitable for transmission. 1 minute. So that is called signal. So we always say the transmitter transmits signal and the receiver receives signal. So signal is modified form of information to be transmitted. These signals are of two types. The information in signal form can be transmitted in two types, either analog signal or the other is digital signal. In figure 13.7, they have shown these signals. Analog means continuous, time varying continuous, and digital has discrete values. It will be either 0 has minimum value or it has maximum value. It has discrete levels. So such is called digital signal. Nowadays, we are using digital electronic systems. Earlier, it was analog electronic systems. Still, for few purposes, we are using analog electronic systems, no doubt. But digital electronic systems have taken lead nowadays. So this is called signal. Then signal information modified suitable to transmit is then transmitted using transmitter. So second term used is transmitter. So what transmitter does? The signal to be transmitted, it receives it from source. Already is modified and it radiates that signal using antenna. So transmitter and receiver both have antennas. So antenna radiates EM waves of information or signal in space in all possible directions. These waves travel through communication channel and they get received by receiver at the other end. So point number 4 is receiver, 239. So what receiver does? The receiver receives message signal using its antenna, reconstruct it, and detach information to be sent from, and then we can get that information. So decoding, ट्रांसमीटर में क्या होता है? कोडिंग होता है, और रिसीवर में जो सिग्नल रिसीव्ड होता है उसका डिकोडिंग होता है. सिग्नल से इंफॉर्मेशन अलग की जाती है. वी आर इंटरेस्टेड इन इंफॉर्मेशन, वी आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन सिग्नल. Signal is modified form of information, so that modified form should be re-modified and the information should be drained from it. So receiver does that work. So to modify the signal, modify the information and demodify the information, we use a transducer. So transducer is the device which converts information in electrical form. So that is called a transducer. So transducers are used. For example, microphone, अपना sound है, वो माइक्रोफोन के आगे हम स्पीच करते हैं, वो इलेक्ट्रिक में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है, और जो इलेक्ट्रिक सिग्नल रिसीवर लेता है वो स्पीकर से हम लोगों को सुनाई देता है. तो दैट इज द मेन थिंग. So that is the basic requirement of transducer. Along with this, during the propagation of signal through communication channel, several undesirable effects get introduced. अगर चैनल की कम्युनिकेशन चैनल की प्रॉपर्टी अच्छी नहीं है तो डिफरेंट इफेक्ट्स अनडिजायरेबल, जो हम लोगों को नहीं चाहिए, ये इंट्रोड्यूस हो जाते हैं बीच बीच में. सच आर कॉल्ड नॉइज, अटेन्युएशन. These effects get introduced many times. Distortion, interference, they have given you two in detail, that is noise and attenuation. So in attenuation, strength of the signal gets lost. Similarly, in noise, unwanted signals are added in between. So this is the basic of this communication. But a communication can be from one point to another point. उसके भी दो टाइप्स है, पॉइंट टू पॉइंट कम्युनिकेशन और ग्लोबल कम्युनिकेशन. So this is all about communication system. The signal to be sent will reach at different points over the earth. The maximum distance up to which this signal can reach in straight line is called range. So maximum largest distance is called the range. So range is one more term generally used in communication system. So up till now what we studied? What is communication? What are elements of communication system? Block diagram of basic elements. Diagram number 13.6 is very very important. Draw block diagram और general block diagram of communication system. वो जो diagram है ना उसमें दिया है, देखो नॉइज का इंट्रोडक्शन होता है, मैसेज सिग्नल इंफॉर्मेशन सोर्स है, सोर्स से इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है, उसमें मॉडिफिकेशन करके वो ट्रांसमिशन के लायक बना जाता है. सो दैट मॉडिफाइड इंफॉर्मेशन for transmission is called message signal. Then message signal is collected from receiver, it is then reconstructed and we get again information back. So this block diagram is very important. It is asked mainly for 2 marks. Draw the diagram. Define different terms used in communication system. This is also the question for 1 mark, knowledge based question. So with this basic idea of communication system, we'll proceed further to study use of EM waves for communication. So this in communication, we use EM waves to make the information in message signal form. Modulation is done. Superposition of information over high frequency wave is done, and that is called the process of modulation, but that is omitted for this year. So I won't go for point 13.6. Just read it on your own. We'll proceed further with the communication. So what is done? Radio waves and microwaves. This part of EM spectrum is mostly used for communication purposes. The information to be communicated is superimposed on high frequency wave. ये इंफॉर्मेशन है, उसका हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी वेव के ऊपर सुपर इम्पोजिशन किया जाता है, और such high frequency modulated wave is then transmitted. The frequency of these waves lie in radio wave and microwave. So radio waves and microwaves are mainly used for communication purposes. These radio waves used for communication purposes can be propagated using 3 different modes. So we have switched over on page 235. Get page number 235. We start with article 13.4. So first we discussed what is communication, what is the elements of communication system. Now we'll proceed further. When transmitter transmits message signal, what is its limits? What is its types? So we have proceeded for studying propagation of EM waves. So I already have told you, for communication purposes, carrier wave, which is high frequency wave, is either radio or micro. Radio waves are propagated using 3 modes. Turn over the page. On page 236, we see the diagram 13.4, propagation of EM waves. So radio waves from transmitting antenna are transmitted in all possible direction. Radio waves whose frequency is up to 2 megahertz, that is 2 into 10 raised to 6 hertz, are used for first basic mode, which is called ground wave propagation or ground wave mode. It is also called as surface mode. उसको सरफेस प्रोपगेशन ऐसे ही बोला जाते हैं. Frequencies of radio waves is from 300 kilohertz to 30,000 मेगा किलोहर्ट्ज. ये रेंज में रेडियो वेव्स हमारे पास अवेलेबल है. तो व्हाट इज डन, दिस रेडियो वेव्स are then grouped into different bands. अलग अलग बैंड्स है. मीडियम फ्रीक्वेंसी, हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी, वेरी हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी VHF, अल्ट्रा हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी UHF एंड सुपर अल्ट्रा हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी SUHF. ऐसे उनके अलग अलग बैंड्स है, और ईच एंड एवरी बैंड we use for different types of these 3 modes. ये जो मोड्स है ना, इसके लिए ये अलग अलग बैंड्स यूज हो जाते हैं. तो फॉर ग्राउंड वेव कम्युनिकेशन वी यूज द रेडियो वेव्स अप टू द हाईएस्ट लिमिट ऑफ फ्रीक्वेंसी टू मेगाहर्ट्ज। उसके बाद के जो रेडियो वेव्स है वो ग्राउंड वेव प्रोपगेशन मोड के लिए यूज नहीं किए जाते हैं। इन दिस मोड व्हाट हैपन्स, the transmitter and receiver and are close to अर्थ को क्लोज किए जाते हैं एंड ट्रांसमिटिंग वेव्स रीच द रिसीवर while moving parallel और nearer to ground surface। ग्राउंड सरफेस के नियरर से वो रिसीवर तक पहुंच जाते हैं। So they don't have the large range. They are only useful for local broadcasting. The distance covered by this signal is not much, nearly 50 kilometers and so on. So local broadcasting जो है पुणे आकाशवाणी, मुंबई आकाशवाणी, I am not talking about विविध भारती, I am talking about आकाशवाणी. So that आकाशवाणी broadcasting, that is called amplitude modulation, is done via ground mode or ground wave propagation. The range is not much, and for that radio waves up to 2 megahertz are used. लोकल ब्रॉडकास्टिंग देखो, हम लोग अभी सातारा गए तो सातारा में हम लोग ने रेडियो ट्यून किया तो पुणे आकाशवाणी वी कैनॉट लिसन, शॉर्ट डिस्टेंस है वो, तो पुणे आकाशवाणी वो ग्राउंड वेव मोड से जाता है तो उसका रेंज बहुत कम है। So up to 2 megahertz you get ground wave, and both these transmitter and receiver should be close very nearer to earth and the range is very small. So the radio waves which have frequency in between 3 megahertz up to 30 megahertz, ये उसके अलग बैंड रेंज है। These are used for communication through second mode which is sky wave propagation. Sky wave propagation, it is point number 13.4.3. देखो मैं क्या क्या सिखा रही हूँ आपको, बाद में we have to read all this. मैंने स्टार्ट किया propagation of EM waves. So EM waves का पहला propagation via ground wave propagation. Local broadcasting, that is मीडियम बैंड सिग्नल्स, मीडियम बैंड लोकल ब्रॉडकास्टिंग है वो MW बोलते हैं ना, वो बैंड में जो सिग्नल्स अवेलेबल है वो ग्राउंड वेव प्रोपगेशन से बनाए जाते हैं। नाउ रेडियो वेव्स ऑफ अ लिटिल हायर फ्रीक्वेंसीज रेंजिंग फ्रॉम 3 मेगा टू 30 मेगा, these are used for communication via sky wave propagation. This is one more mode for communication, and the signals or radio waves whose frequency is much higher beyond 100 megahertz, that is about 30 kilohertz, जो 30 megahertz है ना स्काई वेव प्रोपगेशन में यूज किए, उसके आगे की सब फ्रीक्वेंसीज ऑफ रेडियो वेव्स आर यूटिलाइज्ड for space wave communication, which is a third mode. So space wave is point number 13.4.2 on page 236. So radio waves of different frequencies are used in communication using different modes of communication. And the last way to communicate is through satellite. So for satellite communication, we still use super higher radio waves along with microwaves. Even TV signals, रेडियो सिग्नल्स अलग है, टीवी सिग्नल्स अलग है। टीवी सिग्नल्स जो सेंड हो जाते हैं उनकी रेंज 100 मेगाहर्ट्ज अप टू 200 मेगाहर्ट्ज, इस रेंज के फ्रीक्वेंसी में टीवी सिग्नल्स रिले हो जाते हैं। So this TV communication, signal communication is not possible using sky wave propagation. Sky में क्या होता है? We use the range of 3 mega to 30 mega. So sky wave propagation mode है, उससे टीवी सिग्नल रिले नहीं की जा सकते हैं. For that we prefer space wave communication. जो मैंने स्पेस वेव बोला है ना, स्पेस वेव में क्या होता है? वी यूज द रेडियो वेव्स और माइक्रोवेव्स अबव फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ 30 मेगाहर्ट्ज ऑनवर्ड्स. वो रेंज में टीवी सिग्नल यूज करते हैं. फॉर दैट स्काई वेव इज नॉट यूजफुल. इंस्टेड यू यूज स्पेस वेव. So to study the propagation of signal via sky wave or space wave, atmosphere of earth plays very important role. So tomorrow we will study first the atmosphere in structure of earth in detail, and then we'll proceed further with atmosphere structure, how this sky wave and space wave communication mode is used. So tomorrow we will have the last lecture for this particular chapter, chapter number 13. So tomorrow in physics lecture, we study the next point and the communication via these two modes, which is left, and we'll wind up that chapter number 13. So thanking you all for joining the meet. I am closing the meet for everyone. Thank you again.